And joining me now with more reaction, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Colonel, the Prime Minister referred to a moment just last week where in the middle of these negotiations with the Iranians that you have the Iran Navy doing drills in the Straits of Hormuz, and what are they firing at? A U.S. carrier. We've got the video of them going after an American ship in the midst of these negotiations. What part of this that you can't trust them based on their history, which I will go through in the next portion of the program, does the administration not seem to understand?
Obama is incapable of learning. We have to recognize that. 6 years into his term, he still thinks he can make friends with Iran. It is stunning. And you know, for Americans, the most important point that Bibi Netanyahu made today was that in the Middle East today, dealing with Iran and Islamic State, the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. Obama just can't figure that out. But I am convinced, Sean, absolutely convinced, that Obama and Kerry and company have accepted that Iran will get a bomb. They just don't want it to happen on Obama's watch. They want a decent interval of denial. And meanwhile, as you heard, our president's pathetic, spiteful rebuttal.
Petty. Just petty.
Petty. Obama is a spiteful failure as president. And we've just got to get through the next 2 years. But Israel means business. Netanyahu, unlike President Obama, means what he says. And the key thing for me was actually yesterday at AIPAC when he laid out carefully several examples of instances where the United States wanted Israel not to do something, but Israel did it, and Israel was right. He is setting the groundwork for a desperate military strike, if necessary, against Iran's nukes. And meanwhile, Obama is so desperate for this deal, for his legacy, that he is willing to give Israel up. I mean, let's face it, if Israel disappeared from the face of the earth tomorrow, Obama would not shed a tear.
It's phenomenal that Bibi did this in the midst of an election campaign, probably a great political risk for himself, but felt that such a need before this ever would come to fruition. Do you think this alters this deal? In other words, do enough people wake up and say, no, do not make a deal with the Iranians? No, they cannot be trusted. They're anti-American. They're anti-Semitic. They're radical Islamists. They believe in this caliphate, and that giving them this bomb will result in the potential of a modern-day Holocaust. Will this be stopped? We have 100 million people. Go back to the last century. You look at communism, Stalin, fascism, Nazism, Hitler, the killing fields, Cambodia, Pol Pot, 100 million souls, thereabout, that died in the last century. Maybe some people think evil doesn't exist in this century, but I think ISIS would contradict that. This would be a formula for a potential modern-day Holocaust. Can it be averted?
It will not be averted by President Obama. It simply will not be.
How do you work around him? How do you circumvent him?
Well, you can't. That's the doggone thing, because Israeli military strikes could harm Iran's nuclear program. Iran would respond asymmetrically, attacking Gulf oil facilities, Arab facilities. We'd be in it anyway. But President Obama, again, he refuses to learn anything. He vilifies Israel. He's got that whole left-wing Chicago, Saul Alinsky, Columbia view of Israel as an imperial aggressor, as the United States as inherently guilty, and he idealizes foreign actors. You know, today when he was being so petty and spiteful and angry about Netanyahu's speech, wouldn't it have been great to see that kind of flaring anger from Obama about Vladimir Putin's aggression or about the ISIS beheadings? Yeah, exactly. We've never seen that anger from him, but he directs it toward Bibi Netanyahu. And I can only say that, man, I'm ashamed and embarrassed of this president, and I am on Israel's side. I think most Americans are. And the one thing Netanyahu did accomplish today, with that masterful, forceful, direct speech, he made it almost impossible for Senate Democrats, for most of them, to vote for a bad deal. And Obama and Kerry are about to deliver a very, very, very bad deal for Israel and for the United States of America and for freedom and the world.
I am equally embarrassed. And by the way, the president doesn't speak for me, and I stand with Israel on this. I have the same moral clarity as the prime minister. Colonel, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.